Sometimes life gets hard, and I don't know where to start. Sometimes I feel like a failure, but that's not what's in my heart. I think about my little babies, and I begin to smile. Then I pull myself together and try to run another mile. As a woman, I know my worth. Yeah, I'm gonna make it. Gotta follow my dreams, put myself first. Oh yeah.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. Listen, welcome to the Journey of Womanhood. I am co-pastor Michelle Limes. I ask that you share this video, invite a friend, tag a girlfriend, share, tag. It's going to be so good tonight. I'm so excited. Here at the Journey of Womanhood, this community, what we do here is we talk about the journey of the woman. As you all know, that womanhood is a journey in itself. Us as women, we go through a lot of pitfalls and mountaintops, and we go through a lot of things just to become the person that God has created us to be. And this is a platform for you all to be able to express your journey in becoming the woman that God wants you to be and has created you to be. Tonight, I'm so excited. We have a wonderful, beautiful young lady by the name of Ebony Ford, and she's going to talk to us about her journey to motherhood. I saw that she posted earlier this week that the journey is not always pretty, and she's going to show and explain and talk to us on how her journey wasn't always pretty, but the outcome was beautiful. I just want to introduce to you all Miss Ebony Ford.
Ebony Ford is a DMV native, a devoted wife of 9 years, mother of a micro-preemie and medically fragile child. She is a peer NICU mentor, a national ambassador for the March of Dimes, as well as the face of their It's Not Fine maternal health campaign. And she is the 2021 Capital Region March for Babies ambassador. As a survivor of severe preeclampsia and Class 1 HELP syndrome, Ebony has made it her life's mission to uncover the implicit bias and systematic racism at the core of the country's maternal health crisis, in hopes of saving the lives of the marginalized. She earned her Bachelor's of Science in Psychology from Liberty University in 2016 and plans to enroll in graduate forensic psychology courses in the fall of 2021. Ladies, please welcome to the stage Ebony Ford.
Hi, Ebony.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm fine. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm great.
Listen, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing your story to inspire mothers, to inspire women in general, empower and give them hope. Because we have to. Sometimes a lot of times these testimonies of hope inspire and push us to that next place that God wants us to be. I want to talk to you about your story. Is just so amazing. I've been actually following your journey, and I am just in awe of what the Lord has done for you and your husband. And I've seen the peak, the valley tops and the peaks and the valleys of you all's journey, but you all stuck it together and just believed God. And baby girl is a testament of that manifestation. I just want to first ask you, when did you start? And let's talk about your journey to motherhood. When did that begin?
So, my husband and I got married in 2012,
Mm-hmm.
and it began immediately.
Okay.
I'll put it that way. Immediately, very shortly after our wedding, we found out we were pregnant for the first time, which was slightly scary, but also exciting. We knew going in that we wanted legacy. We wanted a tangible, physical, genetic legacy, and that's where the journey all began. And we were, so young. We were 25.
Mm-hmm.
you have this vision of when you get married, it's like happily ever after. And, sometimes you think, like, when you first get married, my husband looks at me the right way, I'm going to get pregnant.
Right. That's right.
We
That's
have these,
right.
these wild expectations. And, I mean, it seemingly happened that way for us. And that was our initial, journey into parenthood. And unfortunately, in a very, we were very public, very open
Mm-hmm.
about everything that happened. Just as we announced openly, we felt the responsibility to come back and, share. So at 32 weeks, that pregnancy ended in a stillbirth.
Oh.
Yeah.
So when that pregnancy ended, that's rough. And I'm sure that was a very rough time for you guys. How did you manage through that? I know your faith was great. I know God kept you, but how did you manage through that to say I want to persevere to continue to keep trying, because there are a lot of women out here now that are trying to have children, and they might have had a couple of failed pregnancies along the way, and not even if it doesn't even have to be children, it could be just anything, marriage or anything that they're embarking on in their journey. So what was your push to make you persevere?
So in watching your show, we
Hmm.
keep it 100 here, and I'm gonna
Thank
keep it
you.
all the way 100.
Yes.
So I would love to be able to tell you that
Mhm.
I prayed and I fasted, and
Mhm.
I was in my word, and I
Mhm.
love to be able to say that I did all of these things that we are told to do to push through. But if I'm
Mhm.
honest, I existed through that grief. Just
Mhm.
existed.
Yeah,
I
I
just
get it.
coast. And I tell people all the time, don't don't gloat in that term survival, because you can
Mhm.
stand still and survive.
That's it.
It's
Come
not a
on.
testament to your strength.
Yes.
You're at the mercy of the elements, and I was literally at the mercy of the elements.
Yeah.
I felt so lost. I
Yeah.
felt broken. I did not want to continue forward. I did not,
Okay.
you know, really starting a family after that happened was the last thing on our mind.
Yeah.
Although we were getting a sea of, people mean well, people wanted
Definitely.
comforting. So they say things like, oh, you're young, it'll happen again. And none of that was comforting.
And of
None of
course.
that was
Yeah.
comforting for us. So, like I said, to be completely honest, we were, I'll speak for me, extremely depressed.
Yeah.
The days were much longer, and I
Mhm.
really felt lost. I must say that was probably one of the lowest points I'd ever experienced in my faith,
Yeah.
because I had put my faith in this process that, Lord, I'm going to do it your way. Here I am. I've always wanted to be a mother. I waited till I got married. I did it the way you said do it. I'm serving in the church. I'm an elder. I'm breaking my neck, and this is what you let happen. So that for me was oof, one of the most trying times I could honestly say of my life. But one thing I love about my husband and I, we have this joke that we're built for it tough.
Mhm.
And it's seemingly true because
Mhm.
adversity seemed to join us closer together.
Wonderful.
Whereas some couples end up falling apart,
Yes.
because of grief. We were best friends first. So
Got it.
we found solace in each other. And in the days where I felt like maybe I couldn't talk to my husband about something, I would be
Right.
like, can I talk to my best friend for a second? And he
Yes.
would be like, all right, go ahead, lay it on me. And we would
Mhm.
just do that for one another. And
Yeah.
it really helped us to get through.
Now, in light of, and we're going to get back to that, but in light of this month, we are talking about motherhood, the journey of motherhood, and we're also talking about mental health. And in light of that, how did that affect your mental health as a young woman? I'm sure that was very traumatizing, and I know it was hard. But how did you? Because you mentioned that you were in a depressed state, and you and your husband kind of bounced off each other. That's how me and my husband do, and especially in really trying times like that. Um, how long were you in that place? How long, were you in that place? And how did you manage as a wife to minister to your husband in that place?
So I would say it was about a good 4 months of that, just agonizing. Maybe not even 4 months, about
Yeah.
3 months of that just all out. This is confusing. What is going on? And I found that in my weakness, God was giving me strength to minister to my husband, and I didn't have it to minister to me. You
Yeah.
know, I wasn't really able to, if you've ever been in a place where you feel like you really can't pray, like your tears are literally praying for you.
Oh
I
yeah.
couldn't pray for me, but
That's
I
right.
found myself praying for my husband.
Got
There
it.
were nights where I was up and, I would be out just kind of like in the living room or something, and he might be in the room, and I would just be out there just praying for him. Sometimes I would get up in the middle of the night while he was sleeping and just
Yeah.
lay my hands on his head and pray, because there were times where I could feel like
With
he was
heaviness.
almost at his breaking point.
Yeah.
He was trying to carry me,
Right.
but he was grieving too. So that was nothing but God. Nothing
Yeah.
but God that gave me the strength to pull him through. And I wish that we would have went to counseling.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really wish we would have went to counseling. There were recommendations, but it just wasn't feasible at that time.
Got it.
We didn't have coverage, and we were trying to figure out what we were going to do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm grateful to God for a support system who carried us, friends who
That's right.
were there, who let us talk even though they didn't get it.
Yes.
Friends, family who had never been through it, let us lean on them, and that's how we made it. Honestly, and praying for one another,
Yes.
in turn strengthened us.
Yes. And that's so important as we go through our situations and our life trials and tribulations. That's an inevitable thing to go through that. In any marriage, any relationship, it will be tested and tried. And by you all being so young, I find comfort in the fact, and I actually, saw you all, I remember this whole situation, but I remember, I mean, I'm happy. It brings me joy to see that being that you are so young, you all knew where to tap into, and that your bond, your marriage is strong enough to be able to bounce off each other. Because a lot of times when we're dealing with hurt and we are both hurting, sometimes we don't know how to bounce off each other. We're just in our own place. And did you ever get to a place, and then we're going to move forward, of isolation during that time? Did you ever deal with that at all, or?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I had a group of friends. We were all young, married, like newlyweds. This is my first year of marriage.
Mm-hmm.
We were all newlyweds, and we all wanted children. Some of us were married longer than others.
Right.
It was like four
couples. Okay.
And those other couples started having babies, and it was like oh yeah, girl, I'm so happy for you.
Right.
But,
Right.
God, like I'm praying everybody else's miracle, and I'm still sitting here. I'm still waiting. So I did isolate myself.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they, left me out. They were
Oh,
really
yeah. Yeah.
on for the journey, but I myself was not comfortable. I'm just not one, like, if I have to fake a smile, I'm not going.
Right.
That's just me.
I
Because I need my energy for other stuff.
Yes.
So, I wasn't attending baby showers and social functions, and I kind of withdrew.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely felt isolated. I felt broken as a woman.
Yeah.
I felt like this is what my body's supposed to do. I've been waiting my whole life for this moment, and this is what happens.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely isolated for sure.
And the reason why I asked you that, because I know that isolation is something that I hear a lot of women go through when they go through any traumatic situation, whether it's losing a child, losing a loved one, divorce, toxic relationships, whatever it is. And we tend to kind of withdraw. I mean, I have definitely, transparent moment, been in that place myself where I was going through and I just didn't want to be bothered. I just kind of isolated myself. But what I've learned in going through those times, and it wasn't just one time but 2 times, it was a few times, depending on the season I was in, I had to push through when I didn't want to and when I didn't feel like it. And one part that you said to me that really stuck out at me, that you had a support system. And that's very important, especially in marriage, especially in raising children, to have some of support system that you can trust and that you can lean on. Now let's move forward. After that traumatic experience of losing a child, being the newlywed, just starting your marriage, and trying to work through the way you feel about what happened, and you all trying to work through that even in your marriage, even within yourself, what were your next steps after that?
Well, to be honest, we didn't even really get to process very long because we got pregnant again. So about 3.5, 4 months later, boom, pregnant again.
Wow.
But before that happened, I had a major medical crisis that landed me in the hospital for some time. And I was really trying to focus on my health.
Mm-hmm.
It was through that pregnancy that I got diagnosed with lupus. So I was dealing with a new diagnosis. And for years, I've been having different symptoms, heart issues, stomach issues, and doctors never put two and two together.
They haven't yet understood that disease. Yeah, they don't really understand. They're working through lupus right now.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they didn't really put the pieces together.
Yeah.
But something very odd happened. Typically in pregnancy, the disease goes into remission, but for
Right.
me, it brought it out.
Oh.
So I like to say that our first child actually saved my life because I was taking all this medicine, and it was just very, very trying time physically. So while I was dealing with that and in the hospital, it was right after that we found out that we were pregnant. And
Wait a minute, stop the press. So you're telling me that you were battling health issues at the time when you found out you were pregnant?
mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was, when I say a whirlwind, our first
Wow.
18 months of marriage was crazy.
And you all just got married. All this happened.
Got married. Got married in October. We had our baby in April. Found out we were pregnant again in July. That's how short of a window this was. So when that happened, it was like whoa, okay. But okay, God. All right. You're giving it back. Okay. But I still felt this uneasiness, like, oh, I can't like celebrate. I felt like the people around me celebrated more than I did initially because I had this apprehension of like, I'm still not through the pain of this first incident. Now here we are. Okay, let me just breathe. Let me get through it. And by the time I really got excited, unfortunately, that pregnancy ended at 14 weeks, and we had just found out what we were having. So it was really a fatal blow. Well, not fatal, but a near fatal blow to my faith at that point. And more so to my confidence as a woman, because at that point, I was like, okay, I'm broken. Something is clearly wrong. I need to get to the bottom of it. I am married. This is my first year. We're supposed to be in wedded bliss. And the mentality I had is, oh, I'm dragging this man into all of this chaos, is how I felt at the time. Although he was right there in it with me, I internalized that. I felt like it was my fault. No matter how much he told me it wasn't. We were together with this, and family.
Can I stop you right there?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think, like looking back now, why do you think you felt that way at that time? What do you think the root of that was?
I think it was really a manifestation of self-esteem issues that I had prior to marriage.
Got it.
I never really felt, I was always told, oh, you're so this, oh, you're so that, but I never felt it. People could tell me I was beautiful over and over again, and I never saw it. I never saw what he saw in me. I never saw it. So I felt like that's really what that was. I took on the burden of that because, again, you're taught, woman, this is your role. This is what you do. This is this is what it is. And I felt the pressure of, if we're going to have to start, if we're starting a family, it's on me. But I learned that marriage is partnership. It is both of us. We're in this together. As I hurt, he hurts. As I suffer, he suffers. But in my first year of marriage, I took that on so harshly. But as we did before, we came together. We really just made a decision to not try. And anyone who's ever tried for a baby, you know what I mean. You know, you put all your effort into trying to time things, and everything can become really robotic. We made a decision. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We are going to enjoy our marriage. We're going to enjoy each other. We started focusing on other things. We made some goals, and we went on with life for about 2 years. We were able to move through and get some things accomplished. It was a really great time in our marriage. I felt like we kind of got a do-over. The first year, you know, the things that we should have experienced the first year, we got to experience in those 2 years before another transition happened.
So, okay. So here we are the second time around. And now we're working through that. 2 years has passed. And what happened?
We find out we are pregnant again.
Third time.
Not only are we pregnant, we are very pregnant. We are very pregnant with twins. And that was one of the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Redeeming. It felt like a great redemption. Like, okay, all right, we lost this. Now we're in the right place. You know, things had changed. We, you know, made some transitions in our life, and it just felt like, oh, okay, all right, this is amazing. Here we are. You know, everything is great. And then we found out very early on that there were some genetic issues, and those genetic issues, we pushed through, but we knew the risk. We knew that there was some very real complications that could end up in losing one or both of our sons. We knew that we were having boys, and unfortunately that's what happened. We lost both of our boys within a 24-hour period, and at that point it was lights out for my faith, for all hope, for all sanity. For the best way to say. I've never experienced a darkness the way that I felt after that happened. There were days, and ladies, I'm gonna keep it honest because I know there are some wives on here. There's probably some women who have experienced this. I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I love him enough to let him go. He wants a family. I want a family. But I can't give it to him.
Jesus.
Maybe I need to let him go. And I never actually got to have that conversation with him. I rehearsed it in my head so many days, but I never got to have the conversation because he was just loving on me through his own pain, and just what he was feeling. He just kept throwing it on me. He just kept, literally times where I felt like I was drowning, like he just kept saving me. It felt like every day he came home from work, he was saving me from myself.
Jesus.
Because I didn't trust myself. I was at that point like, I don't want to end my life, but I don't want to wake up.
Yeah, I understand.
It was like, eyes open. Oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of like, okay, now what? Now what? What now?
Yeah.
But literally, like every day he came through the door, it was like he gave me a purpose to get up, to cook, to, you know, clean, to do anything. I was literally holding on to my husband for dear life, and he, I know, was holding on to me, to anything that he could find of worth, to his gifts. He was holding on to it. We were literally, there were days, I will never forget this. There were days where we would wake up, get up, hey, good morning, good morning. We would literally sit on the bed with our backs to each other, and we would just be looking at the walls. That's how blank our home became. Everything became a chore. To get up and go to church was like a chore and a half because I had to put on face. You're the elder. Everybody's looking at you. You're in leadership. You got to get the mic. You got to pray. You have administration to do. You have things to do. And I literally, Walking Dead does not begin to describe what that period of time was like.
Lord have mercy.
There were other transitions going on at that time. We just celebrated our 3rd wedding anniversary, and even celebrating that was like almost a chore. I was excited, that we made it, but I literally didn't want to move. Like, I mean, I don't know if anyone's ever experienced a depression so heavy that you have to talk yourself into getting up.
Yes.
It was just that bad. But again, here came this man loving on me.
Lord have mercy.
Pouring into me. Times where I felt like I was just absolutely not worth it. The way he would look at me felt redeeming. It reminded me that maybe I'm not so broken that we can't. Maybe we're not so broken that we can't survive this. And although we never said it, we just kept on living.
Yeah.
Back to school, he threw himself into his music, we threw ourselves into ministry, and we literally just worked through our grief. We just kept, pushing through it, kept working through it. The thought of family never even came back up. It was just it never happened. And we just kept working, and we kept going, and we kept going. And then 2017, we were in church. Shout out to the gathering at Forestville, Bishop Donald Wright.
Yes, Bishop.
And we were maybe a month, maybe a month or so into being members there. And he stopped at the end of the service. I remember he preached a sermon about being a vessel for a miracle. And, he was like, can God trust you to be the vessel that he uses, for a miracle? He has this saying that I'd never heard till I met him. Even a pipe gets wet. Meaning, if God is using you to get the water through, something has to touch you. You got to do something too. And I remember he did an altar call, and I remember going to the altar, and I said it just like this: I am so real with God. All of that vows and these, I don't.
Come on now, that's right. I
literally went to the altar, and I was like, okay. Now, all of these women I started out with, they got babies now. I'm everybody's godmother. Me and Ron are everybody's godparent. We're doing everybody's baby showers. We're giving, and God, we are the only ones. I mean, all of them couples, they're on child number 2, 3, 4.
Wow.
And we're the only ones in that circle still waiting. And I was like, okay, God, I'm gonna keep praying. I'm gonna keep doing. I'm gonna keep praying for everybody else. But I'm getting tired.
Yeah.
I'm a little tired. Yeah. And that was just it. I never said, God, I want a baby. I was just like, I'm tired. I'm tired of praying these miracles into others' lives. And I went back to my seat. I thought that was it. My bishop on the other side of the church, he stopped. And he said, Ebony, I don't know what your doctors saw, but there's a blockage somewhere that they've not seen. And I was like, okay. Initially, I thought he was like referring to something, like lupus or something. I didn't know what
right.
And he said, by this time next year, by my next birthday, you will have a baby. And I'll never forget, I reached over and I squeezed Ryan's hand till it was probably blue. Partially out of dread, because when you are in a situation like that, when you are public, when you are known publicly, Ryan through his music, me through, having been an elder to, a pretty prominent pastor and all of that, people know you, people see you, and sometimes people have a tendency to be opportunist. There's some opportunistic prophets out here who will try to speak to what they know you would like to hear. Or sometimes it's out of their own care and concern. They speak it because they really want it to happen for you, but it may not necessarily be what God said.
That's right.
And we got so much of that over the years. We could barely step foot in the church without somebody saying something. So to hear this I initially got that first like fear response, dread response, but then my spirit was like, receive it, just receive it, receive it, receive it. And I was like, okay, all right, God, we're back here again. I'm gonna just trust you. And I went on about my business. A week later, I began experiencing some oh so familiar symptoms. And I was like, okay. Now, I'd experienced this a couple times before and, thought that I was pregnant and I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I psyched myself up so many times that I was like, whatever. I probably just not feeling well. I'm probably going through a flare or something like that. And here comes my husband. You need to take a test. And I was like, for what? I'm not pregnant. Okay. Let's let it ride. Maybe a week later, I'm still complaining. I'm not feeling well. I'm tired. I'm sleeping like 12 hours during the day at this point. Like exhausted, white. And we had just moved into another house. So I was kind of blaming it on that and, getting the house together. And he finally was like, you need to test. Do it. And it was a Sunday night. I'll never forget it. Do it. So I was like, all right. So I got up on Monday. I was like wrestling with myself, like, am I going to do it? Am I going to do it? Am I going to do it? So all right, let's go ahead and do it. Before I could sit it on the counter, the lines came up. And my jaw dropped.
Lord, help me, Jesus.
I called him, and I'll never forget the way he screamed on the phone. I know his coworkers probably thought he was crazy. He just kept saying, I told you, I told you, I told you, I told you. So, that day, I had been experiencing like some pains that were pretty concerning. And although I was excited that I got this news that I was pregnant, I was also fearful.
Definitely, yeah.
Because I was like, I shouldn't be in pain like this. Like, is this an ectopic? And the enemy started playing with my mind, like, this baby's in your tubes and whatever. So we went to the emergency room. They couldn't see anything on the ultrasound, but the blood work, they were like, oh, you're definitely pregnant.
Right.
You're very much pregnant, but we can't see anything. Come back. So we came back some days later. They could finally see a sac, but no baby. So it was like 2 to 3 weeks of this like lingo, like, are we really pregnant? Like, what is going on? And we finally went in and we saw this faint little blip of a baby and a big flashing heartbeat. And from that moment, I was like, okay, God, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to lay down everything I think I know. I'm going to lay down every experience I've ever had, and I'm going to trust you. And I remember I was praying one day, and God was like, you need to get something tangible that you can see. So I started buying baby clothes. I wanted a girl. I started buying girl clothes. I was that confident. I went out. I went crazy girl shopping. But I put this one onesie in this one place where every single day, no matter what I was doing, I had to see it. And it was a testament of faith. It was a sign of faith for me to remind me. You said you're going to believe. Believe. This baby is coming. And every day I would walk by and they'd be like, yep, my baby's going to wear that. I would buy something else. Oh, yep, she's going to wear that with this. She's going to wear that with that. And then in 9 weeks, we found out we were having a baby girl. My pregnancy was perfect. No issues. No, nothing. It was absolutely glorious. And I went to my doctors. We didn't share really with too many people. Because of course that fear of
definitely
if something happens, here we go again. So we didn't say anything. We didn't share publicly until, we were like 24 weeks.
Out of the woods, basically.
Yeah. We were like 24 weeks. We finally shared publicly, and my husband here released a single. We went out to Stellar's to, promote the single and to sing. And it was while we were out there that, my face began to swell, my hands began to swell, my feet began to swell, and I chalked it up, to just being pregnant.
Right.
Whatever. But I started having like visual disturbances.
Okay.
So having a hard time breathing, and that's when I realized something is very wrong.
Okay.
So I began fighting with myself, like, okay, I need to go to the emergency room. But something in me was like, do not go to the emergency room. We're in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And something's like, do not go, do not go, do not go. So I contacted my doctor, told her what was going on, and she was like, hurry up, get on a flight, and get back here.
Good.
By the time I got back, got to the emergency room, I had a blood pressure of 262 over 154.
Oh my God.
Beyond stroke level blood pressure. My vision was gray, literally, at this point. Rushed me to the back, and I'm 26 weeks pregnant at this point. And, the doctors are like, well, we're pretty sure you have preeclampsia, but, let's do some tests. Let's see what's going on. And it came back like, yeah, well, you have preeclampsia. I'm still waiting on some tests.
And let's explain to us what that is.
So preeclampsia is a condition in pregnancy that usually starts with hypertension. You can have protein in your urine, which is a sign that your kidneys are not functioning well. You can have visual disturbances. Your reflexes can slow down because of extreme swelling. And with me, I had a lot of swelling. I was, unrecognizably swollen. So, it's like, you got preeclampsia. We can keep you pregnant for a few more weeks. We're going to keep you in the hospital. It's like, okay, all right, cool. And the moment I begin to digest that reach out to my family, tell them I'm in the hospital, they come back in, and he's like, you're going to have your baby today. And me and Brian looked at each other like,
today.
Excuse you, I'm 26 weeks. I can't have no baby today. What do you mean? So, of course, I broke down and cried and carried on. And they basically began to explain that I not only had preeclampsia, but I had something called HELP syndrome. So HELP syndrome is basically seen as one of the more severe forms of preeclampsia, where you not only have the high blood pressure, but you have something called hemolysis, where your platelets are extremely low. So you're at risk for bleeding out. I had the liver, something like with your liver protein, your liver enzymes rather. Mine was 6 to 7 times higher than what they should have been. So I was a complete liver failure, complete kidney failure. And at this point, they basically needed to take my baby to save my life.
Jesus.
So they explained to us that they were going to take her by emergency C-section. They were going to take us to labor and delivery, and that I would need to be intubated because I had so much fluid around my heart, which is why I couldn't breathe when I was in Vegas. I had so much fluid, they didn't think that I would be able to survive a C-section without that. So they had to do general anesthesia, which meant my husband wasn't going to be able to be there, which for me was the biggest blow. I mean, I wasn't happy that I was having a baby, but after all we've been through, you mean to tell me my husband's not going to be there, to witness his baby be born? Devastated, but we still were like, okay. So we called the family that we could. We called our pastor, those who could get there, rushed up. Everybody came and waited patiently while they put me in the back. And at 6:53 that day, March 25th, 2018, my daughter, Rain Victoria, was born, weighing 1 pound and 15 ounces.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was a pure faith walk.
Yeah.
For you, going from no baby to 3 failed pregnancies, and then you get pregnant for the 4th time, and through that pregnancy you was fine, and then you start having these issues, and then to find out that you have to give your baby have to be born premature. Okay. So at that point, after Rain Victoria was born, which that's a beautiful name, I must tell you. I love that name.
Can I tell you the story behind the name?
Please do. Please do.
So while we were going through the losses and just, hoping that maybe one day we would have a baby, there's a scripture that for me just resonated. In 2 Timothy 2:12, the A clause, if we suffer with him, will reign.
Yes.
And that thing stuck with me. Now when we found out we were pregnant, we were like, okay. Well, I was like, I want the baby to have, his initials. Every baby in his family, it's always been boys first, and they always have the father's initials. So I was like, okay, whether it's a boy or girl, let's keep the initials. And it just made sense. His sister's name is Victoria, and I was like, okay, Rain Victoria is her name. And that first night when I laid eyes on her, I was like, girl, God himself named you.
Woo!
Self-named you, because she literally reigned over her time in the NICU. We saw
Lord help me.
victory after victory after victory. Everything they said she wouldn't do, she did. They said she would be born, her eyes would still be fused shut. They weren't. They said she wouldn't come out crying. She screamed.
Lord
They
help
said
me.
that she wouldn't be breathing on her own. She screamed, so she was breathing. Everything they said, with literally every milestone. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but let's just say she has reigned over it all. So
Jesus.
that is how she got her name.
I love the name. I didn't know the history behind the name. That is amazing. So now you had to, I'm assuming that you had to leave the hospital without her.
Yes. Now that was tough.
Yeah, of course.
Because my prayer to God
Woo.
after the twins was, God, do not let me get pregnant if I'm not walking out the hospital with my baby. I don't want to see labor and delivery again until I'm walking out with my baby. And I stayed in the hospital about 6 days after my C-section, because I was still, battling with high blood pressure and kidney issues. They had done dialysis, just all of this stuff to try to get me back, fairly to baseline. And I'll never forget it. They gave me my discharge papers, and my husband and I were, all right, let's stop by the NICU before we leave. And I sat there with her for a good while. We finally got ready to leave. And I got to the car, and this feeling of like, oh God, here you go. You're leaving the hospital again. You're leaving the hospital again. You're leaving the hospital again. But what reminded me, one, to not panic, and two, of God's faithfulness, was that I had a band on my arm, not just mine, but I had a band that said that I was a mother. It had my baby's name on it.
Woo!
And that was my reminder that God was completely faithful to everything he said.
Lord help me, Jesus.
I was leaving the hospital without my baby, but my baby was alive. She was well, and she was reigning. And that kept me. Now, granted, I came back like first thing in the morning the next day.
Of course.
But that was enough to get me home and to be at peace, knowing that I was empty-handed, but my womb did what it was supposed to do.
Jesus.
My body did what it was supposed to do. My faith,
Woo!
alive and well.
I'm with you, Ryan. I'm with you, baby. I'm with you, Ryan, on that one. Listen.
Yeah, so
I'm about to have a fit.
it was such a testament that he can take the most rotten, most fruitless situation and turn it into a garden of possibilities.
Yes.
Literally, he turns graves into gardens, and my story is proof of that.
Yes, it is, baby. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You got me all messed up. Wait a minute. Hold up. I'm looking for the push you. I can't find that. Wait a minute. Okay. Okay. So I want to stay in this vein right here. Because I think it's very important right now for you to talk about how that whole situation, and then we're going to go further, how that whole situation with the losses, and now the Lord has blessed you with this beautiful baby girl, and now you're left the hospital without her, but the Lord gave you reassurance before you left or as you were leaving. How did that affect you and your husband's faith? How did that make you all continue to become?
My daughter's birth was like it was a revival, I feel like, for us. it not only revived our faith, but it's so interesting that rain came when she came. So I was due June the 26th. She came on March the 25th.
Okay.
And that Friday, just 2 days before, my husband released a single called Jesus the Same. We were in Vegas promoting a single called Jesus the Same. I sang that song all weekend. Jesus the Same. He'll never change. He'll never change. He did it then. He'll do it again. All of the lyrics were going through my mind. And when I realized what had actually happened, our daughter was born on Palm Sunday.
Wow.
That was Palm Sunday 2018. Talk about a triumphant entry.
Listen.
She was born on Palm Sunday.
Say that again. Say that. Talking about what? Say it again.
So Rain was born on Palm Sunday. Jesus made his triumphant entry.
Lord, help me, God.
Just before his death. And it was almost like Rain made her triumphant entry and said, death to infertility, death to pregnancy losses. I'm here now. Here it is. This is the beginning of a whole new, this is the paradigm shift you've been waiting on. This is it. And literally within our relationship, within our marriage, it was like all things new. All the feeling in our house was different. Although, like I said, that night we came home, supposedly empty-handed.
Right.
Our hearts were full. Our hearts were so full. And I'll just never forget coming home, looking at her stuff, and going back in my mind to every other time where I came home empty-handed and came home in grief and in shame, trying to figure out how I was going to tell it. I came home to flowers and balloons and Amazon packages full of baby stuff. People just started giving out of nowhere. People started asking for our address, and we had to hurry up and get a registry together. We weren't even there yet. We didn't even have a time to put it together, but I had to hurry up and do it because people, and when I say people, I mean people who've never laid eyes on me. Just knowing my story, wanted to just give. People were asking for cash apps, and literally people just wanted to give out of the abundance of their heart. And it was just a reminder that God is so faithful. Yes. She was born, we found out we were pregnant just a few days before our 5th wedding anniversary. And it was literally the year of a brand new grace for us. Literally brand new. The lineage that began, she was the first. She is the first of everything. My husband and I are both the oldest grandchild on both sides. Okay. She is the first of the next generation on all sides of our family. Wow. She's the first. And, though she came early, she came premature, she came with issues, so to speak, in people's eyes. She just set a new, it's literally, and everything that happens with Rain, she's always led the way. Like even in the NICU, when she was done with the oxygen support, she was yanking her tubes out.
Come on. Man.
When she was ready to have a bottle, she was taking the oxygen out and sucking on it like it was a pacifier. She led the way for everything. Everything they said that she would not do, she could do. And now, even now in my life, every time I get ready to doubt something or try to figure out how it could happen, I look in them beautiful hazel eyes and I am reminded that he can do anything but fail.
And she's a constant reminder of that.
Yeah.
You're looking at a constant reminder of that every day.
So every time I say her name, I'm reminded that I birthed a victory. And if I did it before, I could do it again.
That's it.
So, yeah.
So how long did she stay in the hospital?
So she was in the hospital for 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you all just went back and forth and
I was there every day.
Yeah.
12 hours a day. I never left. I was that mom.
I get
she would have had her own room. Our NICU was like an open room set up.
Yeah.
But if she had her own room, I'd have probably never left.
I understand.
I was there from 10 in the morning till Brian would get off of work. He would meet me there. and we'd be there till about 10 o'clock at night. Like, I mean, we were just there all the time. It was all I wanted to do. I had to do other stuff out of obligation, but I was right back there, pushing her through, nursing through the process. And it was strenuous. It was tough. I'm not gonna lie. It is not easy having a child in the NICU,
right,
at all. But you know, by the grace of God, we were able to get through that. She came home before her due date, which is almost unheard of. She came home 3 weeks early.
Wonderful.
No oxygen, no G tubes, no medicine.
I remember
nothing.
you saying,
yeah.
Okay, so now Rain is 3 years old, and let's talk about your journey of motherhood once all that stuff was resolved, and once you start having her, of course, once she came home, and you all started the parenting process with her. I mean, well, really, the parenting process started way before then, but you know, once you started having her home, and how was that for you as a new mom? What you've been through, but now the Lord has given you this beautiful gift of a child, and now you and your husband are now what was more two, now it's three, and we even had 3 Christmases, 3 birthdays, 3 Valentine's days, and all that stuff. So tell me about that journey and how it had changed the dynamics of your marriage. But before we even get into the marriage part, I know this is a twofold question. I first want to ask you this question, then I go back to that question. How did it change the dynamics of Ebony?
The confidence that Ebony always lacked, the second guessing, the feeling like when people looked at me, they saw broken, they saw my story, they saw, you know, what happened, they saw failure. That feeling that I had internally dissipated completely.
So God gave you a confidence through baby girl, and just through the power, his power, and what he has done for you guys. Because earlier in the show, you talked about how you used to wrestle with the self-esteem, and how you just couldn't believe how Ryan, he's such a great guy, you guys. He's a wonderful husband. How he had loved you through it in the midst of how you felt, regardless of how. And I know how that is, because my baby did that for me too. But how he did that, so it edified you as a woman.
Yeah. His he began to look at me in a whole new way once my daughter. I saw the shift. You know, it was like, this is my wife. I love her. But when Rain came, it was almost like we did it. We did it. Like, you birthed a legacy. Like, you did it. And I think that's what also kind of helped my esteem as well. Like, you know, I went from feeling like a complete failure to feeling like I won the lottery. You know, I felt like, oh God, you know, you did this for me. Like, I'm worth you doing this for. You know, you defied everything we knew and did it. You let my baby defy all of the odds. You did all of this. You broke, by me having her at 31, having her married, I broke so many generational curses just by having her. I think I'm literally the oldest person in my family, probably on both sides, to have had their first child. Everybody had kids young. Everybody. To be 31 and just be having a child was kind of sort of unheard of. And I felt like we were the only ones in our family that didn't have kids. And it just changed the entire dynamic. Our marriage blossomed in an amazing way. To become parents together was a totally different dynamic. And in us becoming parents, it was not all peaches and cream, because although she came home seemingly looking well and, you know, everything was okay, about 2 months later is when all of the, you know, admissions began. She kept having lung issues and RSV and pneumonia. Like, we were in the hospital all the time. And that presented its challenges. But again, us being built for it tough, it really forced us together to figure out how we were gonna, make it work. It's just amazing the way that he would bend to give me a break. I stayed home with her.
Mm-hmm.
And the nurses told me flat out in the NICU, they're like, I don't know if you work, but with the baby this premature, she can't go to daycare.
Yeah, that's right.
She can't go to daycare. So I don't know if you had plans to go to work, but you're not. I don't know how you're gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
And it was fine. Thank the Lord. My husband is in an amazing position for me to be able to stay home with my baby. Nothing lacking, nothing missing, nothing broken.
Yeah.
So, I stayed home with her, and even he would work all day. He would have rehearsals for church. And for those who don't know, my husband is a pianist.
Mm-hmm.
And he also sings and writes and has a group. He has all of that going on, but he would stop everything to come home and give me a break from taking care of a sick child. She got to the point where she had to be on oxygen when she was just a little after she was 1. She had to be on full-time oxygen. So lugging a baby, an oxygen tank, a car seat, a bag, a stroller, all of that to frequent appointments was taxing. And there were days he would come home. I know he was tired. He was working long shifts, rehearsals. It didn't matter. He was coming home, jumping out, making sure he sanitized, and he just jumped right into being a father. He just jumped right in. Like, okay, go on, go lay down. He would keep her, get her straight. He would, put the food away. He would do the dishes. Like, he just stepped in. And he's still that way to this day.
Beautiful.
Still that way. He's just an amazing help. I hear stay-at-home moms complain and fuss all the time. I'm doing it all. And I'm like, I can't relate.
Yeah.
Because we are helpmates. We literally are in this thing together. We do it together. And like even since the pandemic, him having been able to work from home, I was just having to get up early with Ray, and I'm not a morning person, to be honest. Probably because I have insomnia. I'm always up like super late at night. And now he lets me sleep. I wake up to them. She's fed. She's happy. It's just an amazing partnership that we have. And I'm just so grateful to Rain for all that she brought into our life, the different facets of us that were birthed through parenting her. It's been beautiful.
So you answered the question about how it affected your marriage. How, and this is my last question, and then I'm gonna ask you to do something. But how did this whole situation that you and you and Ryan walked through and believed God for? How did it? Because everything that God does is a domino effect.
Mhm.
So how did it affect your family members? You have, we all have people in our family that are unsaved or, feel a certain kind of way about things on both sides. How did that affect you all's family and people that are close to you? How did it affect their faith and to see these things? Did you see any changes in other people?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
For sure. I know I can speak for it was really the same effect on both sides.
Yeah.
People who were, not so present, before, like while we were going through the NICU, maybe they weren't as, like they weren't coming up to the NICU or whatever.
Right.
We found them becoming more involved, where people's faith was lacking.
Yeah.
Our daughter became a complete testament of faith for them. She brought relationships together. There are relationships that were distant that through her being birthed just mended. I know in my family, Rain just brought everyone together. She became the sole focus. She literally mended so many relationships. So many things were just squashed and forgiven, and it's just been beautiful to see. There are people who I've never heard talk about church or God or faith or prayer who would send me texts like, I'm praying for you, I'm praying for her while we were in the NICU. Just amazing. It was amazing. We had a camera system while my daughter was in the NICU, and I gave certain people the access to be able to look at the camera to see her. They thought that they were getting that because I wanted them to be able to, see what was going on with her because they lived far away.
Right.
In fact, I gave them the link because I wanted them to see what faith truly is. Those who felt like, oh, I don't know if she's gonna make it, and let's. I don't know if I said this, but a 26 weeker is not guaranteed life.
Right.
They gave me like a 60-40 type, and that's with a healthy 26 weeker. Rain had 2 lung collapses within 4 days of life. That could have taken her out of here easily at 1 pound.
Yeah.
She lost a lot of weight because of that. She had gotten down to like 1 pound 6 ounces. And 9 ounces doesn't seem like a lot to you and I, but when you're 1 pound, that's life threatening.
Definitely.
She had 10 blood transfusions while she was in there. She was severely anemic. I wanted them to be able to see this miracle unfold. As I walked it out, they were always like, well, it never happens for Ebony. Something always happens. Maybe we should get our hopes up. I was like, okay, all right, here's the link. Watch. Just you watch. Just watch. And they were able to watch that miracle unfold. And to this day, some of those people are now faithful church attenders. Some of those people are faithful prayer warriors. I've heard their language change. So it's been beautiful. She has not only affected our marriage, but like I said, our family, the legacy. It's just brand new. She is the joy of everybody's life. Like I said, she's the next generation. So, her going to school was like a huge celebration for everybody. Every birthday is a celebration. It's just been beautiful.
Now, what would you say to a woman, to a young woman, or to any woman that is pushing and believing God for to have children or to be able to walk this journey of motherhood, of parenthood? What would you say to them that have not yet received those manifestations of God? How would you encourage that young lady?
So, if you are watching this and you have experienced infertility, if you have experienced loss, the first thing I want to remind you of is that you are not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. God created you in his image, therefore you are perfect. You have everything. He put everything in you that you needed in this life to be who you were called to be. That does not mean that situations won't happen that will test your faith, that will make you, sometimes question even the existence of God. But one thing that I've learned is that miracles are messy. Miracles are messy. Jesus himself was born in one of the most disgusting places you can be born. But look at the miracle of his life. So, God is well able, and that is something I never questioned. I never questioned his ability. I knew he could do it. It was a matter of if. So know that 1, God is absolutely able, and 2, that your journey to motherhood may not look the way that you think it will. It may not happen the way that you think it will, but if it is God's will for your life, you will have that baby. It may not come through your body. It may come through surrogacy. It may come through adoption. Don't limit the avenues that God takes to give you the miracle, because you just never know how he's going to do it. But one thing that is just rang true, and I hope that you've been able to hear through my story tonight, is that God will take a sea and turn it into a highway. He will take seas of doubt, and frustration, and infertility, and turn it into a path for that way. If I'd never gone through everything I went through, I'd never ever see the beauty in my daughter's story. I would have never received the word to even think that it was going to happen. So get a testament, get something you can look at. If it's a onesie, a pamper, put it somewhere where you have to see it every single day.
That's right.
Pray, continue to believe. Remember that you are not broken. Don't shut your significant other out. Make sure that you guys are coming together, that you're on the same path, and believe that when 2 or 3 touch agree, it come together, touch and agree, it has to happen. So if ever you are in doubt, if ever you worry, I pray that these words will ring in your head. I pray that you will remember this conversation. And I hope you come find me when you have your baby, because I'm going to celebrate with you.
Oh, wow. Ebony Ford, you have blessed us tremendously tonight with your story, your words of wisdom, and your testimony and your words of hope. I want to lift the seed on tonight, so we can continue to be able to have these broadcasts and episodes and be able to inspire, empower, and give words of hope. I believe that there is power in testimony. I believe that what God has for you is for you. You and your husband are a wonderful, wonderful young couple. I love to see young couples like this that trust God and believe Him and be able to rise above adversity and trust Him in that process. I'm just grateful to God for that you're sharing on tonight. Listen, if you can on tonight, I ask you all tonight, we're going to lift up a $20 seed on tonight. And this is a seed of hope, believing, and whatever you're hoping for, it might not be children, it could be marriage, it could be a healing, it could be a financial breakthrough, it could be anything that God is that you've been wrestling with, that you're waiting on God for. What I loved about this young lady, what she did was she got something tangible to push her faith. And her tangible item was a onesie. And what she did, she had looked at that onesie every day, knowing that God was going to do something in her life, in her husband's life, and in her daughter's life. Okay, you might not be looking for children, but you might be looking and waiting for God for healing. So you just believe God. Listen, a lot of times we have to step out on faith. You know, the Bible says that faith without works is dead. So that means that faith alone is not going to get us there. There has to be something pushing our faith, and that's the work. And that's what this young woman did. I am so excited. We're going to lift this $20 seed on tonight. And Rain Victoria is a beautiful, beautiful girl. I don't know if you all have seen her. You all can go to Ebony Ford's page and look at this pretty baby. And she has so much personality. I'll be reading the stories that you and your husband is talking about her.
Yeah.
And she her personalities and her facial expressions and all that is beautiful. Sometimes when I look at it, I say, "Oh, she looks just like her dad." When she make a face, I was like, "Oh, that's her mama," you know. So I'm just grateful to you all. I am so happy for your journey. That the Lord has placed the journey of woman, not just womanhood, but motherhood in your life. I decree much prosperity, and even the Lord said, increase and multiply. So we believe God for whatever you want God to do in your life, for you and your family. And I'm excited for you. I want to just thank you, Ebony. I want to ask you to pray out. And I just want to thank you as you have came and encouraged our young women, our older women, with those words of hope and wisdom. I'm telling you. God has really done a miraculous, beautiful thing in you, both of yours lives, and I love you so much for it. So you can pray for the women, and you know this is another thing. This is all of the journey of womanhood. Womanhood, us becoming learning ourselves. We learn ourselves through adversity. We learn ourselves when we're on the mountaintop. We learn ourselves when we're in our valleys. We learn ourselves, as you said, when we're broken. We learn more about ourselves. That's the journey. But the blessing of it is we learn, we process, and we move forward, and we're productive through this journey of womanhood. We go through many changes, but God has, I like the what you said, forward.
Oh, built for it tough.
Built for tough. I like that. And that's what God, He created us to be built for tough. He really has. But we have to push even when we don't feel like it. And I love the fact that when you were in your lowest time, the Lord will raise up your husband to minister to you. And then when he was at his lowest, he raised you up to minister to him. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So if you can just pray for our women on tonight. Again, I want to thank you for coming on and being willing to share your beautiful story with us. And before we close out, we're going to have Ebony to pray, and then we'll close out right after that.
Absolutely. If you would just let me say thank you so much for having me tonight. It was an honor. Every opportunity to share my story is an honor. I'm honored to be in your presence. You know how I feel about you.
I love you.
I love you. I esteem you highly. I celebrate you. We don't talk every day, but my love for you just abounds. My prayers for you abound. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that you've always been praying for our family.
Yes, ma'am.
So we love you. And Pastor,
Yes.
gives you my love. And that being said, let's go ahead and pray. So, Father, I thank you tonight. I thank you for the space and time and this opportunity, God, that you've given to not only share of your goodness, but to encourage the faith of all who will listen. God, I pray tonight that the words that have been said will penetrate the hearts of the ones who are seemingly at their wits' end, those who are believing you for not only that child, but maybe that job, that business, that ministry, whatever it is that they are believing for. I pray, God, that you would help them in their unbelief. I pray that a seed has been sown into their spirits tonight. And God, that you would continue to cultivate it. I pray, God, that everyone who is on this line would find themselves in a posture of prayer tonight, that they would find themselves praying bold prayers, prayers that they've not had the courage to pray, saying words they've not had the courage to say. God, I thank you for this awesome woman and this vision, God, that you have birthed. I pray, God, that you would continue, oh God, to supply every need. God, that you would make the way straight, that you would continue to speak to her, give her vision. God, bless the team that undergirds her. Oh God, allow every resource to be in place. I pray for the city of David that you would continue to blossom and to grow and to cultivate. Oh God, all of those who are connected. I pray that everyone under the sound of my voice tonight would find peace, would find rest, would find a revival of faith and of strength and of love. God, I pray that you would turn every low place into a mountain. God, I pray, oh God, that you would turn every grave into a garden, that you would turn seas into highways, God, that you would turn mourning into dancing. God, do it so that we can say that it was only you. It was only you who did it. Nobody will be able to take the credit for what you have done. Father, we love you, we bless you, we honor you, and it's in your name that we pray. And we say amen.
Listen, you all, I'm so grateful that you all tuned in tonight for the Journey of Womanhood. And we had our special guest, Ebony Ford, Miss Ebony Ford. Next week, we'll be here, same time, same place, 7:30. We will have Miss Renika Ross in the house, and she's going to talk about being young, a teenage mom, and how she persevered through that, raising two boys on her own as a single woman. So you all tune in. We're talking about motherhood this month. We're going to end the month with we'll talk about mental health, because this is mental health month for May, and I'm excited. So tune in, tag a friend, grab a girlfriend. Don't forget, I love to see y'all next Tuesday at 7:30, and I love you all. Don't forget that this journey that we're on, women, this journey that we're on now is a journey, but it's the journey of womanhood. And we got to know that we have to make sure we're in a place that we're finally nourishing ourselves and continue to have those me moments, self-care, and continue to allow ourselves to grow as God sees fit. So you all have a wonderful night, and I love you all so much. Bye.